Good evening, everybody. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the South Haven City Council. It's Monday, October the 4th, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The invocation this evening will be given by the Pastor Eric Jarvis of the First Assembly of God. Good evening, Pastor Jarvis.
Good evening. I asked Kate before I pray if I could just say something real quick. It's a little out of order of public comments and stuff. But I just want to say thank you. A while back I wrote a letter just regarding the condition of Van Buren Street, and the 200 block was really deplorable is the word for it. But appreciate the listening ears. I appreciate the willingness to consider and give it serious consideration. I appreciate the action that the city took on that, and Council Member Reeser especially for coming out, taking a look at it. And I just want to say, I know you guys hear when things aren't going well, so I want to say thank you when they are going well. So appreciate that. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for your love for us, for this day that you've given to us, for life, breath, health, strength, wisdom, and we just ask that you would walk with us through this meeting, through this evening, and Lord, that you bring blessing on our council members, the leadership of this city, and Lord, just ask that you would guide and direct our every step and every decision in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you again. All right, if you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call. Megan.
Jeff Arnold.
Here.
Chris Campbell.
Here.
Joe Reeser.
Here.
Steve Schlock.
Here.
George Sleeper.
Here.
Letitia Wilkins.
Here.
Scott Smith.
Here. Next, I'll seek a motion for the approval of the agenda with the removal of item 7, please.
I'll make a motion to the approval of the agenda with the removal of item number 7.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. That item's being removed because the officer is not available. We will push that off to the next meeting or when they're available. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's approved. All right, next. All right, we have a proclamation this evening honoring an outstanding individual, Mr. Ron Dotson, who's here. So I will read this, and I will just say I did let him know he was not allowed to ever retire. So we'll start with that. Tells you how much power I've got, just to let's, you know. But, and if anybody else, when we're done, wants to say any words, you know, feel free to come on up. But an outstanding man here. So I'll read through some of this, just take in the dates and the times as I'm talking about this. Whereas Ronald Dotson comes to the end of a nearly 43 years of meritorious service as an employee of the City of South Haven. And whereas Ron Dotson began his career with the City of South Haven on December the 11th, 1978, as a utility worker in the street department at the Department of Public Works. And whereas Ron Dotson's career path steadily progressed forward, working in various positions including tree trimmer, tree crew leader, senior equipment operator, water and sewer maintenance, water sewer distribution operator, and I should have asked. Take over the next part. I was going to share it. Sorry.
Okay. Ronald Dotson retired in 2006, returned in 2007, and was promoted to Public Works Operation Manager, where he continued to serve the community of South Haven until his retirement October 22nd, 2021. In this role, Ronald Dotson oversaw staff in the city's street division, water, sewer division, motor pool division, parks, cemetery division, and whereas Ron Dotson was involved in and oversaw numerous projects that made our city a better place to live, work, and vacation, including, but not limited to, the construction of Phoenix Street's walking path between Blue Star Highway and the overpass, repairs to the Baskill Bridge on Dykeman, installation of the downtown tree mats, installation of the skate park, installation of playground equipment at Elkenberg Park, and countless other projects that improve the town's infrastructure. Want me to continue?
I'll take over.
Okay.
Thought I'd share. And whereas Ronald Dotson and his staff were honored by the South Haven Area Chamber of Commerce in 2015 with the Community Investment Award and by Bobby Walker as a Community Leader Award recipient during the 2021 Bobby Walker Basketball Tournament. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of South Haven wishes to recognize Ronald Dotson for his dedication and efforts to provide accurate, professional service to the City of South Haven. And those are not enough words to say all the things you've done for this city. He does know where every secret, shut-off valve and whatnot is, so we are going to keep your number, just so you know. He is an Ohio State fan. We won't hold that against you. But other than that, I just want to say again, thank you so much for what you've done. This community is indebted. So I will give this to you. Anybody else want to say anything? I know I got Ross. Anybody else want to say any words before he comes up and gets his photo out?
I just want to say thank you very much for your full service and your full career, and thank you for staying with South Haven for this long.
Absolutely. Anybody else? All right, well, let's do this, and then we'll give him a big round of applause. How's that sound? So, come on up. You got to get your plaque.
Very good.
One more.
You guys are more than free to sneak out and enjoy your evening. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you. All right. Now we'll receive an update from our Van Buren County Commissioner, Ms. Gail Patterson-Gladney. Good evening, Gail.
The first thing I want to do is to let you know about this one pamphlet. I don't know if you received this at the city from Area Agency on Aging, offering choices for independent lives. The Area Agency on Aging has great services. It's a nonprofit organization, and one of the important things I want to leave with you today is their info line phone number. I might have done that in the past too, but it's not sometimes known by the public. And so it's 1-800-654-2810. That's the info line for aging and disability. For those who are disabled or 18 and over, and for those who are senior citizens. This pamphlet explains more about what Area Agency on Aging services are. And they sent me quite a few of these. Unfortunately, this is the only one in English, so I will leave you some Spanish translated pamphlets and then bring you some more.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Also, if some of you have been following the county news, we have the Palisades Community Advisory Board, and that meeting was supposed to be October 20th at LMC from 6 to 8. It just recently was changed last week to January 26th, and at the same location, LMC, and 6 to 8. So I just want to let people know that make sure you check on our website because sometimes there are changes. The meeting was changed because of COVID. I don't know also if you received our press release from the county. It's the Van Buren County ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan funds, and I think I mentioned that before. We finally have the official press release out, and I will give this to Kate. I just will read a little about it. Van Buren County Board of Commissioners is seeking proposals from residents businesses, community organizations, and other stakeholders on the county's use of funding through the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act. And every second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 10 o'clock, you can go on Zoom on the county website and participate or listen to some of the proposals and attend the meeting that we have. Some of the categories for eligibility are supporting the public health response to COVID-19, addressing the negative economic impacts of COVID-19, services to disproportionately impacted communities, broadband, water and sewer infrastructure, and replacing loss of public sector revenue. So I'm going to give you this. Hey, you're welcome. As county commissioner, sometimes people think I know a lot, but sometimes I'm always learning. And one of the things I didn't realize is every 10 years, the county does apportionment. And the districts, they look at the districts and the numbers. I see somebody knows about that piece, and I was not aware of that until I went on the website, and also I talked to people about the Apportionment Commission, and that commission is made up of the county treasurer, Mrs. Nesbitt, the clerk, Susie Rome, the head of the Democratic Party, Annie Brown. I don't know the head of the Republican Party, but he was there too at the meetings. The prosecutor, and they are the commission. They look at the numbers because you want to try to keep the districts as close to each other in population as possible within 11%, a little more than 11% deviation. So there have been 3 meetings so far. The next one was supposed to be October 7th, but I went on the website today, and they don't have that on there because I think that's because at the last meeting, September 30th, they voted on which plan that they would like. So you want to keep up to date and see what's going on. They haven't put the newest information up, but Susie Rome's plan, which includes something that our district might be interested in, is that they included Covert Township, City of South Haven, and South Haven Charter Township in District 1. Some of the other plans had District 1 differently, and with Geneva Township instead of Covert Township. So there's some juggling around. But I'm going to give this to you also.
Thank you.
And just keep your eyes open and look on our website to see the updates. I didn't see the newest information, but I was there when they voted, and so I think that's the most accurate information I have right now. They have to send that in and get it approved. Okay, one of the last things I wanted to mention is about the Veterans Treatment Contract. And again, this year, the Van Buren Cass District Health Department is going to provide oral health and other public health clinical services to veterans who reside in Van Buren County. So if you have any veterans, you can let them know that there's some services for them. Okay, any questions?
Just one on the redistricting. You said you were there for the vote. Was it a unanimous vote or a split vote?
Unanimous.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Gail. Appreciate it. Have a great night. All right. That takes us to our consent agenda, items A through E.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through E.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call, please.
Arnold,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Takes us to old business. The city council will be asked to set a public hearing for a proposed ordinance providing a property tax exemption and service charge in lieu of taxes for the Habitat Company's first proposed rental phase on the southernmost portion of the Overton site to occur on Monday, the Monday, October the 18th, 2021.
I'll make a motion to set a public hearing for a proposed ordinance providing a property tax exemption and service charge in lieu of taxes for the Habitat Company's first proposed rental phase on the southernmost portion of the Overton site to occur on Monday, October 18th.
I'll
Second.
second it.
We have a motion, we have a second. Kate?
Yes. So as we were talking at one of our previous meetings about the pilot ordinance, and it was the meeting, I think, that we had just had to have the public hearing because we'd already set it. We had a question asking if we would notice the public hearing again, and so this is that notice. We will be bringing that pilot ordinance along with the municipal services agreement and the real estate development agreement for the Overton site at the October 18th meeting. So this is that notice, and I'm just setting this matter for public hearing.
Okay, sounds good. Why don't we go ahead for public questions or comments? Again, this is just setting the public hearing date. If you have any public questions or comments at this time?
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I appreciate the clarity that the agreement will be brought simultaneously with the pilot ordinance and the municipal tax ordinance. I would like clarity as to when we should be able to expect to see them. I certainly hope it's not after 5 p.m. on the Friday before the meeting so that we actually have some time to review these fairly lengthy and complex documents according to the original publication on September 7th. There were several issues raised with regard to the agreement, especially with regard to the fact that it has phased cleanup of the brownfield, and if there's not funding, brownfield will remain contaminated next to places that our residents are supposed to be inhabiting, and it's not safe. So we really need more than a couple days to review an agreement that I believe has been in front of the city staff since before May. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Kate, the draft agendas are published on Wednesday,
That's correct.
so
On
not
that-
Fridays, they're Wednesdays.
Right,
yeah.
on that
Okay.
particular one, the development agreement was added on a Friday. We were still waiting for some last-minute changes, so it was added on a Friday, but typically we get them out on Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay.
Good question. No other public questions? Council questions? Just setting a public hearing date?
I had one question. I see that we're changing the ordinance to do this, and I was just wondering, I anticipate that there may be opportunities in the future to have more pilot opportunities for other developments and even for other phases in the Overton project, and I was just wondering if it might not be beneficial to have more of a generic ordinance that covers all pilots, and then by resolution, specifically adding a particular project to the ordinance. That way you're not changing the ordinance every time the project changes, but that's something maybe the city attorney might be willing to look at.
I'll pass those comments on to Attorney Curcio and see what we can do for the October 18th meeting.
Question? All right, we've got nothing else. We have a motion, we have a second to set the public hearing date. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is set. We come to new business, some special events. City Council will be asked to consider the approval of the following special event applications. Why don't we we'll just do them individually. Special event 2021-26, All Crafts Fair 2022, to be held September the 2nd, 2022 through September the 4th, 2022 at Stanley Johnston Park.
Make a motion to approve special event 2021-26, the All Crafts Fair 2022.
Second.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second. I see Kathy's here. Unless, Kate, you want to share? Kathy, do you want to share?
Sure. So this is the All Crafts Fair, and this will be the 46th annual. This will be for September 2nd to the 4th in 2022. It'll be the same as in previous years. They will be requesting crowd fencing, not crowd surfing, sorry, to be placed. It is a juried arts and crafts fair with 150 to 175 vendor booths. There will be food and beverage, and there is free space offered to nonprofits, organizations to set up. They also offer overnight security and portable bathrooms that are provided by the chamber. They also do their own cleanup.
And Kathy, as always, gets a prize for having her requests in very early. And well done. So, very good. Council questions? Public questions? Nothing. I'll say thanks several times, but thank you for organizing. It's a great event. We have a motion. We have a second to approve special event 2021-26. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's approved. Special event 2021-27, the Blueberry Craft Fair 2022, to be held August the 12th, 2022 through August the 14th, 2022 at Stanley Johnston Park.
I'll make a motion to approve special event 2021-27, the Blueberry Craft Fair 2022.
Second.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
Once
Repeat.
again, the chamber is going to be requesting to use Stanley Johnson Park for the Blueberry Craft Fair, August 12th to the 14th. They'll have 150 to 175 vendor booths with food and beverage. As similar to a previous event, they have overnight security and they provide their own porta potties. Additionally, they clean up the park, and I should say, with the number of volunteers they have, they do a very good job of cleaning up the park after they've left. So kudos to the chamber on that.
Absolutely. Very good. We have a motion. We have a second. Any council questions? Public questions? Anything from Kathy? All's good. All right. Thanks again for organizing. I know it's a lot of work. Motion second to approve special event 2021-27, the Blueberry Craft Fair 2022. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's approved. Thank you again. Appreciate it. Special event 2021-29, the South Haven Convention and Visitors Bureau sponsoring the following events: Halloween, Holiday in the Park, and the New Year's Eve amendment to be held, let's see, the first one, October 30th, 2021, November 26th, 2021, to take place at various locations throughout the city. The amendment to the New Year's Eve event application will add a dessert and coffee truck to their approved application.
I'll make a motion to approve special event 2021-29, the South Haven Convention and Visitors Bureau sponsoring of the Halloween, Holiday in the Park, and New Year's Eve amendment to be held on the dates the mayor mentioned.
Second.
Yeah, we got a motion. We got a second. Kate?
So on Halloween, which, as we've talked about before, really isn't a city event, but they are going to be adding, I think, a headless horseman that will be coming down, as well as, I believe, a parade. There's a pet parade that will be going around the pavilion and adjacent to Dykeman Street, the Dykeman Park. The headless horseman, which is a real fan favorite, will be coming down at 7:30 on Phoenix Street. The Holiday in the Park will be November 26th, and that will be from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. There's family activities, also another pet parade, pictures with Santa, holiday treats, flameless luminaries. The flameless luminaries will be sold by Hospice at Home, which will be placed at Phoenix and Water Street over the weekend. If this is approved, the CVB will have to organize the pickup of those luminaries. That's what we organized last year. And then third, the amendment to the New Year's Eve application would be to add a dessert and coffee truck. As we've discussed previously, that special event application has the downtown being cordoned off with the streets are cordoned off of Phoenix and Center. So that would be all cordoned off, and they would be the placement of that truck would be there.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Council questions? Public questions? It's all quiet tonight. I will just again say thank you. It's nice to see activities, especially in the off season, to fill in these weekends and get people to town. So we have a motion and a second to approve special event 2021-29. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. It is approved. Next, special event 2021-30, a prayer rally to be held on Saturday, October the 16th, 2021, from 12 p.m. through 1 p.m. at Dykeman Park.
Make a motion to approve special event 2021-30, the prayer rally to be held on Saturday, October 16th, 2021, from noon until 1 p.m. in Dykeman Park.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion. We've got a second. Kate?
Yes, Ms. Robin Brindley is hoping to host a prayer rally at the Dykeman Park on October 16th from noon to 1 p.m. She's expecting between 10 to 20 people sing and pray the rosary. She's hosted this event in the past, and it's gone off pretty well.
Okay, very good. Council? Public questions? All's quiet still. Motion is second to approve special event 2021-30, the prayer rally. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It's approved. All right, this will get people excited. Okay. Next, City Council will be asked to award the purchase of a combination single-engine sewer cleaner with positive displacement vacuum system mounted on a heavy-duty truck chassis, the amount of $449,201. Bill gets expensive toys. Just need a motion and a second, please.
I make a motion to award the purchase of the combination single-engine sewer cleaner with positive displacement vacuum system mounted on a heavy-duty truck chassis in the amount of $449,201.
Second.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second. Hi, Bill, good evening. Tell us about your
Oh, thank
Toy.
you, Your Honor, City Council. Vector truck is short for what we should be calling. It's just a Vector truck, not just a Vector truck, as you can see by the price. They're an expensive piece of equipment. There's a lot of moving parts there. Just when I invoice people, probably alone, you're looking at $200 an hour just when I invoice someone, if I have to invoice them. They're used actually very, very versatile for jetting and cleaning the sewers. When something does dislodge, you have actually your suction tube right down there, and you can take whatever's dislodged so it doesn't pass on and create another backup, because before Vector trucks, that's what happened. You basically just kept moving the plug until finally it reached something, a larger main to go on. Also, they're used actually for hydro excavation. Right now, there's a lot of things that are buried. More and more, we want things buried because we want to see a clean, everybody wants to see that, but all that stuff's in the ground. So it gets almost impossible nowadays actually to use an excavation to do it. So this comes in where we can hydro down to a smaller hole, minimize our holes, and actually make the repairs. Plus, it has a pump-out system, so you'll actually see these in water main breaks. Water main breaks with these, we have actually less boil water advisories because of this piece of equipment, because we don't shut the main down all the way. We allow actually the pressure to keep, because we don't want that negative pressure and to allow anything to come into the system. So we get it down enough to where we take our jackets off, get wet, and throw the Band-Aid on it, and we're on to the next. So it is an expensive piece of equipment. Not a lot of municipalities do have these things, but we're fortunate actually to have it, and we've had one for a number of years. But over time, with all these moving parts, it starts to break down, and we've had major breakdowns the last few years. So this was due for replacement. This is the schedule for it. And I'm here to answer any questions City Council might have of this piece of equipment.
Does it have a CD player?
They get a radio, that's it.
Power
That's it.
windows?
All right, all right.
Can you explain in the short version the My Deal that you're using to help purchase this?
Yes, we're actually using, we use MyDeal and Sourcewell. Our ordinance does allow us to participate in cooperative government purchasing. This is Sourcewell. There's actually, Sourcewell, what they do is they actually do all the bidding process for us. They actually take care of everything, so all we have to do is actually pick it. And that's it, all the bidding's been done, so it actually meets our ordinance, and our ordinance does allow it. And we've used it actually, recent purchases have been, probably the last one was our street sweeper. We've used actually Sourcewell. It was, it did change name, I forgot the name of it was NJP before that, but now it's Sourcewell. But we have also used MyDeal. We use that every year for our salt purchase, which will be coming in front of City Council probably in November.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh.
Bill, for our old vac truck, do we get a trade-in on that, or are we going to just keep it for a while, maybe have two for a while, or?
I plan on actually selling it outright through our, we actually go through the state of Michigan and put it on the bid process. I didn't want to do the trade-in because I really thought we could get a lot better than the trade-in.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of companies that'll purchase it right, and they'll just actually go through the whole thing and repurpose it. And some of them will actually sell it to other communities. You get a used one with a used chassis. And I have worked at communities before we did that. Unfortunately, they work about a year well, and then they start breaking down more continuously. So, but that's the plan right here, yes.
I know what you mean about using them for excavating, because where I work, we never use anything but a vac truck to excavate, just because of anything that's underground. You're just so afraid you're going to damage something.
Yes.
That's just so much better to remove the dirt than trying to use a backhoe or something.
Good question. Joe?
I'm not sure I heard, but is this going to be shared with the county, and then will the cost be shared with the county?
No, this won't be shared with the county. This will actually be, most of this will be charged actually with SHASA, so it'll be shared throughout the SHASA system. So with water, sewer, wastewater plant, electric, so it'll be shared between many funds within the city. And we actually use it in the street department as well with our catch basin cleanout.
Good question. Any public questions? Oh, come on up. Hopefully, we don't need you with the truck at our house. That's the goal.
Dave Tuttle, 116 Clinton. My questions would be, how long has the existing piece of equipment been in use? And would that be a comparable life for the new piece? And then what's been the annual maintenance cost associated with the equipment, so we can understand some of the financial pieces?
Well, we don't have an asset management plan, so I can't answer your question on that for our equipment. We depreciate our equipment over, this one actually is depreciated over 10 years, like the last one. So we depreciate it based on, I put it in a spreadsheet and I estimate the costs. For example, I think this one here might be like $1,000. So I put that in there, depreciated over 10, and charged, and I split it under many accounts. Water.
I'm sorry, perhaps the question wasn't stated right. How old is the existing piece of equipment?
It's about 10 years, sir.
Okay. And what's been the maintenance cost on the existing piece of equipment?
I can't answer that because we don't have an asset management plan that tracks that, sir. I don't have an asset management plan that tracks every year.
So I guess I'm struggling to understand, is it better to spend $500,000 on a new piece of equipment, or to spend, say, $20,000 a year if that's what the cost to maintain the current piece of equipment is? But
Well, you got to think of it too, actually, sir. It's this, we don't have any backups around our city. For example, we are the largest city. So if I have a sewer backup, I need something that's reliable, because when the sewer backs up, it just keeps backing up. The same with the water main break. I need something actually that's why we're purchasing it. I do understand what you mean.
I appreciate
for
that,
emergency purposes.
But obviously, everybody has budgets they have to live within, and I'm just trying to make sure that we've got visibility from a financial perspective of what this is costing us, and is it better to spend more money repairing than to buy a new piece? But thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right.
Just a follow-up question. I think it was in the staff report, but we have a number of assets that we do maintain as part of the motor pool. And we do know that we have to replace them because of how much they get used. And take for this Vector truck, we knew that when we bought the other one, that the life cycle, because of the intensity of the use, would be in about 10 years. So we've been putting money away for this purchase. Is that correct, Bill?
Yes, we put money away every month for this purchase. We depreciate it out, so every fund, for example, when I set this up for the Vector truck, I split it up to many different accounts, like I was telling Mr. Reeser. Wastewater plant gets a percentage, water distribution, and I even go to, for example, like Casco, SHASA, the Parks Department. I split it up all these funds, and I depreciate it over 10 years, and then I add in some cost for maintenance. And I think on the average, it's like $1,000 a year. Now, what's not included in there is your fuel costs, because each individual account or each individual department pays for their own fuel. But that money coming into that fund builds up and allows us to replace this equipment over time. And we've done that with all of everything actually, from our squad cars to our dump trucks to everything has been set up in the city that way.
Thank you.
So about a 10-year life cycle, and we're there. Make sure it's
For
correct.
this particular piece of equipment, yes.
Right. Sounds like it's kind of important. We don't want it to fail. We have a motion, we have a second to award the purchase for this vehicle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's approved. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. Next, City Council will be asked to consider the approval of Resolution 2021-24, which is a resolution setting the 2022 seasonal and transient slip rates at the South Haven Municipal Marinas.
I'll make a motion to approve the Resolution 2021-24, a resolution setting the 2022 seasonal and transient slip rates at the South Haven Municipal Marinas.
Second?
Second it.
All right, we've got a motion, we've got a second, and who's got this one? Mr. Griffin Graham. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone. Before you this evening is the annual resolution setting the seasonal and transient slip rates for the municipal marinas. As you can see with the information in the packet, last year, city staff did a thorough review of comparable municipal marinas in the region and found that we were slightly behind, so recommended a 3-year implementation rate schedule to increase our rates to get them back consistent with the other marinas that were compared at that time. This is the second year of the 3-year proposed rate schedule, and no additional changes were proposed.
Any questions?
What's the percentage of increase are we seeing?
Sure, that's a great question. For Black River Park, it's a 3% increase, and for the north side and the Maritime Museum, or excuse me, the Maritime Marina, it's a 5% increase. And then the transient slips at south side, they stayed in the same columns as established by the DNR.
Okay.
For what it's worth as well, all of our seasonal slips were filled this last year, and we also had a substantial wait list, which tells staff that our rate schedule is fair and competitive.
With the two that are increasing to 5%, why the 5% over the 3?
Because they tend to have newer facilities, and it was more consistent with the other marinas in terms of size of slip and the comparable facilities that are offered and assets that are available at those. For example, Northside recently redone has state-of-the-art facilities where Black River Park doesn't quite have access to the same amenities. So to be competitive, they have slightly different rates.
I figured someone would ask. So
Sure, that's a great question. Thank you.
Any other questions? Public questions? Got none. Do you want to share, share that, how the DNR plays in with those slip rates? I don't know if we're just.
Sure. So the Michigan Waterways Commission annually approves a transient rate schedule. And the city, per various grant agreements, has to maintain a certain number of our slips as transient. So instead of renting them out for a whole year, we rent them out on a short-term transient basis to promote people coming in for various amounts of time in the summer. So they set a rate schedule, and then the city determines which of the various columns it fits in. And those various columns are similar to why we have different rates at different marinas. It's so we can charge competitive rates with other transient slips across the strait to make sure people are choosing to come visit South Haven.
Perfect. Good info. All right, sounds good. So we had no other public questions. Council's good. We have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2021-24, setting the 2022 seasonal and transient slip rates. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's approved. Next, City Council will be asked to consider the approval of a letter of support for the Blue Star Trail project on behalf of the City of South Haven. Kate, saw your letter.
Well, thank you. So the Friends of the Blue Star Trail, which Mr. Carmichael is here as I believe the president. The Friends of the Blue Star Trail are trying to get some more momentum going with their group, and they are asking for the City of South Haven's support by way of a letter of support. Now, this isn't a letter of funding or a commitment of funding or anything like that, but this just shows that this community is in support of their commitment to the trail and providing access to trails. And as we know, the city of South Haven is a pure Michigan trail town, and with our participation in Shara and other things like that, our commitment to recreation is kind of facilitated in those other agreements. So here we have their presentation as well as some of their materials here. And if Mr. Carmichael would like to come on up. I also have a sample of the letter here.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. I'm Clark Carmichael. I am the president of the Friends of the Blue Star Trail. We were formed in 2010. We're an all-volunteer charitable organization whose goal is to build the trail a non-motorized trail off-road from South Haven all the way up to Saugatuck. We have most recently been focusing on the northern section of the trail. Griffin might be familiar with this from his previous background, to where we're trying to connect the communities of Saugatuck Township, Saugatuck City, and Douglas. Why we're here today is that we leverage the funds that we raise to pay for the construction and engineering of this trail by taking advantage of TAP and DNR grants. And one of the things they like to see are all the communities that would be connected by this trail to support the trail in the form of a letter. I don't believe we've ever been before you as an organization. Part of that was because our original vision was to build the trail from our standpoint from Baseline Road, or the southern border of Casco Township, to Saugatuck Township. But it was impressed upon us as an organization from our TAP grant administrator, say, you know, you're a regional trail connector, meaning you are connecting the Cal Haven Trail to the Beeline Trail and all the trails throughout our southwest region. We're kind of the missing link. And so back in 2019, we hired Aban Marsh to kind of update our trail plans to build the trail from the Cal Haven Trail all the way north. They've done that. We hope to be working with your community in the next year to try to come up with the best approach to build from the Cal Haven Trail, at least to North Avenue, to connect the trails that are along Baseline Road and just south of North near the elementary school. As Kate mentioned, we are really the funder of this trail, but we do need your support and cooperation and input. Our goal is just to partner with the various communities as we're building trails in their section. That northern section I mentioned to you earlier, we are happy to announce that we have the 3 communities working together on the Tri-Community Committee up there. They worked very diligently this year. They've put together a plan that all 3 communities support. They're packaging that plan and submitting the TAP grant this month, we hope. So we're here tonight to ask for a letter of support. I think we provided you with a possible letter of support and hoped you would build support us by providing us with that letter or something similar. Are there any questions? Thank you very much.
Great project. We appreciate it. And
Well, thank
we're
you.
excited. We love our trails, so.
You certainly do, and it's
You will have a
really-
very supportive city.
Great.
So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming this evening. How about a motion in a second?
I'll make a motion to approve the letter of support for the Blue Star Trail Project on behalf of the city of South Haven.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right, motion second. Did council have any other questions? Didn't see any going up. Public questions? Nothing. We're good. All right, motion second to approve that letter of support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, we're approved. Next, city council will be asked to receive an update from our assistant city manager, Mr. Griffin Graham, on public participation.
Good evening again. What you have before you is a short update regarding some of the city's public participation activities over the last year. For a little bit of background, in 2018, City Council adopted a resolution approving a public participation plan. This plan was established as part of a requirement for the city to become redevelopment ready certified with the MEDC. I have re-highlighted several of the public participation plan objectives in the staff memo, but I'd like to draw your attention specifically to the status report. This memo serves to highlight several of the engagement activities that were conducted over the last year by the city, elected officials, various boards and commissions, and city staff that go beyond what is required by state and local regulations, and to align specifically with the goals set forth in the public participation plan. Some examples include the work of the Beach Safety Committee, various meetings regarding the Overton site redevelopment, various meetings regarding the Hales redevelopment, surveys conducted to gather feedback on a potential social district, workshops regarding lakeshore erosion, lane diet feedback, open house office hours, city staff participating in the Juneteenth event, a 425 agreement introduction packet, specific web pages, for example, regarding the Overton site or golf cart regulations, various meetings with local community groups such as Rotary and Kiwanis clubs, as well as introduction letters and public open houses regarding transitioning to a new waste hauler. I'd also like to highlight shortly that this last year was a challenge for many communities when it came to hosting traditional in-person public meetings or engagement events. And overall, I'm really proud of what the city of South Haven's been able to do to continue to offer public engagement opportunities above and beyond what is required by law. So with that, I'm happy to do the best I can to go into any of these in more detail. But otherwise, one of our annual maintenance requirements to maintain our redevelopment ready certification is to annually update City Council on the city's public participation activities.
Any questions? It was a good update. I appreciate it. It's nice to hear all those meetings. We might have been in a few of them. Some of them here.
Griffin, I appreciate the look backwards, and it's really good to see all together all the different things that the city has been doing. Do you have anything coming up in the near future, or anything on the horizon that is along these same lines that we can advertise maybe a little bit?
Sure. I think the biggest one I'd highlight is that we will be hosting our first Best Way Disposal public open house tomorrow starting at 5:30. There will be a second one the first week of November, but as City Council and staff discussed several weeks ago, there is going to be a learning curve with transitioning to a new waste hauler after 15 years. So besides introductory letters, information on a web page, we also want to make sure that there's a public open house component where if people feel more comfortable meeting those people face to face and having a conversation as opposed to getting information off of a letter or off of a website. I expect that the city will continue to go above and beyond when it comes to various public engagement activities. I will admit, as you'll see through various of these projects, some of them are planned long in advance, and other of them are shorter notice when various things come up that the city is working on. But other than those listed here, I would highlight I have no expectation that this is a complete list. If anything, staff was just trying to highlight several of those things that we work on throughout a year to make sure we're getting information out to the public and giving the public an opportunity to interact back with the city.
I think we do a good job, and I do like I know he said website's one, but I do think we do a good job of that first page there, kind of pushing out current things that are going on. It kind of pops right up in your face, so I think that's good.
I think it's important to add to the Department of Public Works. I think Bill Hunter held tailgate parties and everything, or parties, tailgate meetings and everything for the construction down, all the road work downtown and stuff too. That was just another thing that I thought was very creative to keep the public involved and informed too. So.
No, it's a very good point. All right, good update. So that'll take us to an update from our Public Works Director, Mr. Bill Hunter. Let's talk about those tailgate parties. Steve might have a new idea for you.
Thank you, Your Honor, City Council. This will be the update for the Department of Public Works. Phoenix Street Bike Path project, that is currently underway. City expects to receive $144,783 in federal funds for the bike path and $320 for the road resurfacing. The construction, of course, started now, but the road resurfacing won't begin until early October. Concrete standpipe replacement, still working with Baird and Company on the financing. I have a meeting set up with him next week, Warren, actually, to go over the cash flow analysis for this. Covert flushing rate, there will be a letter sent out this week to inform Covert Township of the new flushing rate. That'll start actually January of 2022. The DSMI distribution system materials inventory. As I stated in previous DPW updates, Eagle is requiring us to do what they call is a 4-point verification of 551 locations. That's factoring down on upstream and downstream of your curb box. The curb box is a shutoff valve located at your property line, and then potholing out to the main, which would be using a Vector truck to do that, pothole down to the main. If we didn't have the Vector truck, we'd have to make a hole that's about 6 by 4. We could just pothole a small one just so we can see it and then fill it in. So, but that DSMI is going to be expected date of due to Eagle is January of 2025. New substation. I was just informed. Actually, AEP they want to set up a meeting. Actually, the new substation is what we have in our capital improvement plan. Part of that is a feed to it. We have to pay for the design feed, and that's actually AEP, and we're setting up a meeting about that. So that's progressing nicely. Shawsa is under contract actually with HydroCorp. HydroCorp is the one that does our cross-connection inspections. Just remember, cross-connections is just to eliminate the possible contamination of public water supply from back pressure or back siphonage. So think about it this way. Anytime you lose below 20 PSI, it's a possibility through back pressure or back siphonage that something that's non-potable or contaminant can get into the main and then distribute it out through our system. That's why it's so important. But the two components of this is just inspections, site inspections, and testing. A lot of people, when they get the letter, they keep thinking, well, I already had an inspection. Well, yes, but now it's the testing of the device. This is ongoing. It's never going to stop. So I have people say that, when is this over? It's only over if we don't have a water system. So it's here for now until the end of time. So AMI project, the base stations are installed, but unfortunately due to COVID and the restriction of any kind of electronic board, our meters are delayed. So we're not going to have the meters installed until probably, they're going to come in probably this spring. They wanted to do it a little bit here and a little bit there. I said I'd rather do it all at once. I firmly believe in keeping things simple, the KISS method. My father raised me with that. I live by it. And I thought having all the meters at one time and doing the Band-Aid effect and having it done, that's what I wanted to do. So we're going to do it in the spring. It'll be completed this summer. Aylworth non-motorized path, we're starting to actually the topo survey on that and preliminary design. That we're going to receive actually some through the CMAQ funding, and that's the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality grant. We're supposed to be getting, let's see, the CMAQ funding will be $134,783. I&I inspections or inflow and infiltration. I do have a call into HydroCorp, and I'm going to be discussing with them about when they're in doing the inspections now for cross connection. They're going to do 2 birds with 1 stone and see if they can see if there's any I&I. Meaning, does somebody have a sump pump that's tied onto the sanitary? So those are some of the things they'll be looking at. Monroe Bluff, staff worked with Edgewater Resources to do another evaluation of the Monroe Bluff to see what the status of that is. Nothing changed. Edgewater is still recommending to us to continue the observation and react to any disturbances or other areas of slough or shift towards the lake. Yep, that's it for that. Motor pool, we're working with my staff and the police staff on specifications for new vehicles. Water Street planting program. Edgewater's working on a planting plan for Water Street. That's in our capital improvement plan. $1 million gallon reservoir specifications. We do have about 60,000 worth of, I call it repairs, but every time any water storage facility needs to be inspected every 5 years, in-ground, elevated. Dixon Engineer, that's what they specialize in. So we've been using them, and a lot of other municipalities use them because that's what their expertise in. There's about $60,000 they're recommending, and just minor stuff we have to do to the reservoir. But you got to keep up on the little things at the 5-year, or else it builds up, and all of a sudden you're doing mass things or massive replacements. Solar feasibility study. I'm working with a consultant now to develop a feasibility study for potential sites to install solar panel systems. And beach sign consolidation plan. I did get some drafts in just today. The idea is just less signs. Let's say the same thing we're doing now with just less signs. That's the whole idea. And I got some drafts in, and we should be it'll be implemented by next summer. Does City Council have any questions on any projects? Yes, Joe?
I'm not sure if you touched on it or not. It was hard to hear. But a couple years ago, the residents and Edgewater all got together, and we talked about the bluff along Monroe Boulevard and making some large changes along there, including putting plantings and everything to stop erosion, and then a walkway across the top with maybe more benches. Where are we on that? And that may be a Kate question as much as yours, Bill.
Well, we were going to apply for a project of that, a grant, but at the time when the grant application is occurring, we didn't feel we'd had a strong plan. Plus, actually, it was very competitive, and our likelihood of actually getting a grant funding for that, we ventured not to go for the grant at that time. But we do have, through the Monroe Bluff Beach Management Plan, we do have a plan set. The idea is, as you said, is to designate the trail, meaning keep people from spreading goat trails, designate one trail, and then funnel them from either the blue stairs or the brown stairs, and doing some top improvements to the top there. That was the intent of that plan. The plan I mentioned earlier today was just the assessment, hazardous assessment, and Edgewater did both of these as well. That one does have some possible solutions. The one I mentioned about just site observation, that's their top one, is just maintain what we're doing now. But they do give you other options. I think the most expensive one is, but this would be a lot of public input, would be doing a revetment plan along that, which would be a $5.1 million project. The other ones are more, I want to say, is you could spend money, but you'll just wash away. There was one in particular using some bags and some vegetation. It was about 1.8 million, but I don't think actually it would hold. To me, if we were going to try to preserve it or do something, I would actually probably recommend us looking at something more substantial than something we'd have to wash away, so to speak. Does that answer your question, Joe?
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Bill, the million-gallon reservoir, is that the one over by the water treatment or the South Beach there that's underground?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep. Just so I don't forget it, did we look at, or can we look at a crosswalk option when we're doing the non-motorized path on Aylworth? I mean, I don't know if it's even possible, but a lot of folks, they go across from side to side there, and I mean, just something to look at some point in time. I mean, they're on their foot, foot traffic going across from field to field.
Oh, you're talking about, okay, yes, I see what you mean, to the bike path there.
Maybe it's possible, maybe it's not, but just to designate,
Okay.
stripe it, do something where, I don't know, and just maybe when they're looking at it to figure out if there's a logical spot where we could get, you know what I'm talking about.
We could do the fancy signs there since MDOT won't allow us to do it.
Exactly, they won't let us, exactly. So anyway, just maybe while they're looking at it, if there's a spot that would make sense and we could do it, because people are crossing there.
Yes, sir.
And usually it's youngsters that are crossing there. So
I'll talk to staff about that tomorrow.
if there's anything to increase drivers' awareness that this is, look here, people crossing the road would be great. That's all I got for you. Thank you
Yes,
again
sir.
for keeping my lights on. Very good. City manager, sorry, not yet. Citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on the agenda. So if anyone has any questions, come on up, state your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to Share your concerns.
David Veenstra, 1220 Monroe Boulevard. I received my absentee ballot in the mail. I haven't returned it yet because there's a proposal for narcotics enforcement, and I'd like to know a little bit more about that. Why should we approve that? First of all, it is a renewal.
Yep.
Is there any opposition to it at all? And I'm curious as to why this is a special millage rather than just part of the department's budget.
Good questions. Kate, you want to take part of it?
Sure, I can get more information, but this was to be used as a way to fund another officer that would be specifically placed in, at the time, there was the regional team, it's called the Southwest Enforcement Team. It was a multi-county, multi-jurisdictional drug enforcement team. And to place an officer into that program, it would be for, I think, up to 2 to 3 years. They would be taking an officer off the road. So, and that would put the department at somewhat of a disadvantage. So the idea would be to fund an officer. There was also, and so that's why this was a special millage. The idea also was to, at some point, I don't know when, but the idea was to place it for 2 officers. There is now a Van Buren County Drug Enforcement team, and there's also still the SWET, the Southwest Enforcement Team. So the idea is that millage is to enable 2 officers to maximize both teams and to maximize drug enforcement efforts in not only this area but for South Haven, because it's one with the regional effort, you get kind of where people and things are moving around, and with the Van Buren one, you're kind of getting that focus on this area.
Very good. And last I knew, this council was fully supportive of renewing that millage. So I think that was the question. Good question, though. Anybody else? Oh, got a couple folks coming up.
Good evening, Dave Tuttle, 116 Clinton. I'm not aware of the timing of when the village would again be looking at restrictions or limitations on the short-term rentals. And within parts of my community, that is a hot topic to try to find a way to do it. And I don't have a specific proposal or request, but I would actually like to have some communication from the village about when this might be a topic that we can, and what are some alternatives, or have some dialogue around ways that we could perhaps bring it back into balance, because it would both minimize the impact on the housing neighborhoods, potentially reduce some of the housing costs that, while it's certainly been nice to have some value created, we have the affordable housing issue out there. So if there's a way that the village could communicate any next steps, review processes for the rentals, that would be great.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
We do review, what do we do for our end of year? We did fiscal or we did calendar? Or both?
Well, I think we've done an end of the year, but we also do, there's an apportionment process that goes on for the next year, and I think that has to be done by January 15th by the Planning Commission. So we do try to do an end of the year, I think, for City Council, because we do an end of the year review for City Council of all the city departments.
Yep.
So that's part of that. But I know that there's other reviews that go on at the Planning Commission level.
Okay. I mean, it's important enough. I'm sure we could get it fiscal and calendar both, because that gets it 2 times a year. So
Right.
Good question. We will continue to keep it, but end of year we should be seeing something. All right. Anybody else? Saw a few folks headed this way. Good evening.
Good evening. Cam Doherty, 522 Edgell. I'd like to suggest that before the possibility of a tax exemption can or even should be considered for the rental phase of the Habitat Company's proposal, that it just be made clear to the public what the goal is of this proposal. From everything I've read and heard, it seems we've deviated away from the original RFP put out in June of last year for development of this site. as well as deviating away from the original stated city priorities for bringing affordable housing back to the missing middle and increasing families in South Haven. I suggest this because just in the last city council meeting, Mr. Kilpatrick himself said that the target audience would be 40 to 60% AMI, which is an annual income range for a single person of about $22,000 to $32,000 a year. So certainly not the missing middle. With all of that in mind, I do believe it is fair to engage the public in conversation, or I do not believe it is fair to engage the public in conversation on any next steps until either we have recommitted to the original stated goal or we've just made clear that the goal for this proposal has changed. As I've stated before, I'm not against developing the Overton site in general. I'm not against additional low-income housing if that's what's needed, though I haven't heard that request. And I'm certainly for addressing the need of affordable housing for the missing middle. I just want it to be clear what this particular proposal is supposed to be accomplishing. Thanks.
Thanks, Cam, appreciate it.
Hi, Nancy Nat, 125 Elkenberg. Recently, we had submitted a Freedom of Information Act to the City Council regarding a lot of different things, and the one I'm most concerned about is the one we received back concerning the environmental issues with Habitat. And I have in front of me a letter written by Jeff Head to Kate and Nick. And the letter reads, it's dated November 12th, 2020. I'm watching the Eagle public meeting right now. The remediation program that was outlined for the adjacent site looks extraordinary. They were talking about the factory condos remediation. We are used to working with impacted sites where there is an engineered barrier installed below the surface. I'm not an expert in these matters, but the types of contaminants described in the Phase 2 seem very concerning. I'll be going over that in a second. We haven't discussed the site condition or the requirements for future remediation, but we are interested in your basic expectations as well as the path forward. An intensive cleanup effort similar to what has been shown at the factory would have a significant impact on the budget and the schedule. The information you shared did not include a site remediation letter, so we believe that any necessary remediation work has not yet been completed. We will take a deeper dive into the documents that you have shared and look forward to discussing this further. Thanks for your assistance, Jeff. Now, the Phase 2, which he was discussing, involves 17 different contaminants that they have uncovered at the Overton site, 3 of which are benzene derivatives, which are cancer-causing of lung, liver, and systemic cancers, which benzenes have been noted to cause in human beings. I'm concerned because I just feel like still this is not being addressed to the level it needs to be addressed. I think it's a huge problem. There's arsenic at the highest levels of concentration, and like I said, there's 17 different contaminants on that property. I have provided the table for the council if they would like to see it and use it for future reference. I can leave it with Kate. Also, my concern is that this correspondence was in 2020, almost a year ago. And I don't understand why there has been no communication with the people that live in that area regarding what's going on between the city and Habitat in terms of the contamination issues, what the potential remediation is. We've received no dialogue. I've asked several times about contamination. From the beginning, I was told it wasn't an issue, and come to find out it's a big issue. So I have lost trust in the city. I hate to say it, but it's my health, it's everybody's health who lives in the area that is at risk. And I just feel like the mantra is, oh, it will be cleaned up. That isn't good enough. It's not good enough for me, it's not good enough for the citizens who live in the area, and it's not good enough for the potential people who are going to be living there. So, my question, again, to the city council, will you commit to provide the citizens of South Haven, to me in particular, an unredacted communication of what you've had with Habitat regarding the contamination? I want to know what's been said between both of you. 1 minute. And that's my question. Will you provide that to me so that I know what's been going on? Because I feel like it's been kept from us.
Thank you. I guess, Kate, I feel like we've talked about environmental things several times. Do you want to go just real quick, just to remind everybody that there is a process, the brownfield process? I mean, we can't do anything until it's cleaned up, period, end of story. I just want to share that again. I mean,
That's correct, but more importantly, it has to go through planning and zoning as part of that process too, because as you know what's going to be built, where your hard surfaces are, because those are caps and such as that, there is as part of the brownfield process, the city and their consultant and the Habitat company and their consultant, they come together. There is a brownfield plan that is drafted, that sides look together and they negotiate. And as I mentioned, and I think that has been mentioned before by Mr. Kilpatrick, is that this all has to be approved also by MSHDA. So before anything gets built out there, because the intention is to go through a MSHDA application process, not only does this get reviewed by city boards and commissions, as well as this is getting reviewed by the state. So there is a multi-level of processes that have to happen. So I guess that's my recommendation here.
right, again, so I feel like we've talked about environmental. We will be diligent, but we have to follow the steps. The state has a process, we'll follow that process. So,
Lisa Beck, 879 Monroe Boulevard, or if people don't like that address, 1 Elkenberg, where our front door actually faces. Unfortunately, I do want to talk about the environment, and I hear what you're saying. I have a very good book here that might be of interest to some people. It's What the Eyes Don't See, very well written. It's about the Flint, Michigan problem with the water. And they were told a lot of the same things. And it ended up in lawsuits against the city, against the organizers. So it's really something to think about. If you read this, you might open your eyes to what these kind of contaminants can do, to kids in particular. As I'm sure you're aware with the Flint, Michigan, it was lead in the water. A terrible state. I did get a chart such as this, and some of the things that are on there are downright scary. The things they cause: birth defects, cancer, lung cancer, liver failure. It's really scary stuff. So I do encourage everyone to really think about this. And I guess my question for the council would be, would you at least be willing to consider to clean the entire site rather than what Habitat has suggested in 3 phases? Because I know everyone that lives around that area is very concerned, and the people moving in, once you've moved in, you're going to buy a place, and then you're going to find out that they're going to dig all this soil up in phase 2 and 3, and all these contaminants will be in the air. And I think a lot of people are worried about this because we've seen Trailside. We've seen the factory where it was going to all be cleaned up, and then there's a lawsuit from someone who didn't know anything about it. There's the 3 buildings on Elkenberg that have gone up, they're in the $850,000 range, and they're still contaminated and they're not built yet. They said, the developers have said, we'll put the fences up. The fences don't clear the air. The fences aren't there. If you look at where they've taken the contamination from those buildings and put it on the lot that's, it's Indiana and Alleyworth down that way, and they keep saying they're covering it over. It's never covered. I walk by there all the time, and the cover is off, the wind is blowing, the soil is all over the place. So I would encourage, and I'd like to encourage the council to please at least think about doing the whole contamination or decontamination of that property at one time to be sure to keep us all safe. Thank you.
Okay, that's a good question. Thank you.
Joe Wilkins, 811 Indiana Street. I just want to make a quick comment. The affordable housing is this council, I believe, number 1 priority, if not should be, but I believe it's the number one priority, as well as the city manager. Your decision to not allow Habitat to submit their application was very disappointing last meeting, very disappointing. How you arrived at that decision was sketchy and lacked a lot of transparency. I just want to let you all know that. It let a lot of people down. I felt like you had a golden opportunity to bring affordable housing to this area with a community whose numbers and total population is around 3,000 and something now. I want to address a letter that was given to me and my wife, and I won't give the person's name, but all black people don't look alike. Mr. Wilkins, I would like to formally introduce myself. My name is not one of them or those people. I won't even stoop as low as to acknowledge the person by giving their name. But I will read the last paragraph of this lengthy letter that I gave to every councilman. Prejudice isn't just about race, Mr. Wilkins. The kind of bias you carry, the judgment you make about people based on an address are just as bad as those based on color, nationality, or anything else. Keep in mind, I never, and I went back and watched that meeting 3 or 4 times. I wasn't the one that said those people. Never came out of my mouth. So I didn't deserve this nasty letter. Put it in my mailbox. That's also a crime within itself. Okay. I personally think judgments are best left for God, but I do know that if it's judgments like this that divides the community, such as the one you expressed at the council meeting, are any indication of what you preach in your church, please don't save us a seat. Signed by 2 individuals. Now, I wouldn't bring this up. It's one thing to challenge me based on my position concerning this Overton project. But when you insult my pastorage, that's another thing. Check the records. Everything that I've done in this city. I ran a 20-year program, back-to-school program, that gave kids book bags. Everything that I've done in this community showed the real love that I have in my heart towards black, white, all of God's people. So when you challenge my position as a pastor, then that is very offensive. You've crossed the line. Even more, when you insult my wife, that's even more crossing the line. So we didn't deserve this letter just because we are fighting for affordable housing for so many people that we heard the testimonies. We know where they're at. We see the struggle. You, Jeff, you heard a testimony from a teacher that stood up here and said that they thought they would be left outdoors because he thought at one point that he would have to settle on renting a seasonal place to stay. But he was lucky to get a year-round rental. Unfortunately, a lot of his colleagues weren't that lucky. They had to wait on seasonal rentals to come open. You as a teacher should know how important it is. But you voted last meeting, to not allow Habitat an opportunity to submit their application. I gave a story about the late Judge Warshawski and how every one of you all have to live with the decision you made. We have a prime opportunity, a shrinking population, to bring more people back into this community, and we let those people down. That's my opinion. We did not deserve this nasty letter. I have a pastor heart for everybody in this community. I'm a champion for this board when I feel like this board is doing the right thing.
Thanks for your comments. Sorry about the letter, and we will continue working on Overton. So work to be done. Anybody else?
Lisa Stigall, 767 Indiana. Just want to thank Kate for breaking that down for us the way that you did, because it made sense about the process. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, council members, for your continued efforts to provide affordable housing for South Haven. I'm here to speak for folks. Sorry.
Take your time.
In my neighborhood surrounding the proposed development called Overton. And for those who have high hopes for affordable housing options, many of my friends and neighbors feel apprehensive to come to meetings to speak in public. Quite frankly, I feel the same, but here I am, the
Doing
volunteer.
great. Good job, good job.
Some feel they are being vilified and divided because they have legitimate concerns, questions, and fears. They, like me, are not opposed to affordable or workforce housing. Some have lived here all their lives and raised children who don't live here with them or near them anymore. And like me, they're thankful to call South Haven home. Their fears began years ago before any talk of Overton ever existed. They walk, they drive, and they live surrounding the areas where factory condos and more recently trailside development have been built and or are being built. And they are aware additional phasing of buildings is coming. The fears have been ongoing about the contamination they are being exposed to. Factory condos, property, and trailside are still contaminated. And it's my understanding are still being monitored for that contamination, also known as cancer-causing exposure. They could not stop the digging and development in their neighborhood for market rate housing. People that bought there have chosen their sites by their own free will. The neighbors didn't have a choice. Now, fast forward at what we're looking at today, Overton. Now we are talking about more development, more digging on contaminated land, and now being told it will be done in 3 phases to provide affordable workforce housing for folks who don't have a choice to choose their site plan or where their apartments will be. They're trusting you, Mr. Mayor, Planning Commission, City Council members, to choose wisely. So this is what the neighbors are asking. Why is the City Planning Commission choosing contaminated property for these proposed affordable housing, apartments? Specifically, Phase 1. Why is the best that you can do for us who don't have a choice to choose where we put affordable apartments? And why does this site need to be remediated in 3 separate phases, further exposing us to cancer-causing contamination? This is a legitimate fear. We are not choosing to rent an apartment or buy a home on contaminated land. You're choosing for us. Again, the question, why so much focus on this parcel? Residents surrounding the area are truly afraid. They may not be here to say this to you tonight. That doesn't dismiss their fear and concern. Why, Mr. Mayor, members of this council, is this property the only focus of affordable housing for my neighbors? And, sorry, I lost my place. My friends and neighbors implore you to do better. Better than exposing us to cancer-causing digging, putting unknown risk to our breathing environment. Can you please tell these folks why this is the best that we can do? Mr. Smith, members of the council, do you have a response for these concerned constituents and potential renters? They are listening. I'm sorry for getting so emotional.
You did well, thank you. Thanks for,
Thank
good
you.
job. You got it. So, and if folks ever want to, they don't feel comfortable coming here, please call us. We will come to you. It's not a problem. So I won't get too far into this one because I think we've been over environmental again and again. The process by which we came by this site, this has been ongoing for years, so I won't go into all that tonight, but I'm happy to, review that. And we'll just, I think, we keep hearing over and over again, and just as we do the environmental, if we can specifically ask the question on the phasing, if it was truly contraindicated for this date, we would specifically call that out. I think it's fair to ask that question because we do not want to do anything, obviously, that would impact people's health. Anybody else?
Hello. Kay Engelbrecht, 125 Elkenberg Street.
I read an email today from Jeff Head from Habitat, who stated to Kate on November 12th, 2020, that Habitat is, and I quote, "used to working with impacted sites where there is an engineered barrier installed before the surface," end of quote. He also stated that the types or contaminants described in the Phase 2 seem concerning. I'm posing this question to each council person tonight and respectfully requesting an answer from each of you at this time. To protect the health and safety of all current and future South Haven residents, as well as any construction workers that are working on this project, will you support and/or require the entire Overton property to be cleaned up to the Eagle standards prior to the beginning of any construction? Mayor Smith, would you answer that, please?
I'm not going to have this whole group do a question and answer session. I will say we have repeated several times tonight, there is a process by which this site will be cleaned up. We do not have a plan yet. There are steps to be taken. So I'm not going to ask this group to speculate on a plan which we do not have yet. So you heard me just ask a second ago, we will make sure to ask questions about phasing. So is there anything else you'd like to state at this time?
Yes. Is it possible for me to get an opinion or a thought from individual council members as to how they personally feel about the cleanup? As far as
I'm happy to allow
phase?
them to answer. They're sitting here. But as I stated, and we've stated several times, the process by which the site will be cleaned up is yet to be determined. The plan needs to be determined. So if others would like to jump into a speculative comment, feel free.
I'll just simply say that the development helps the property to get cleaned up. And the state of Michigan, since the Flint crisis, I'll call it, has clamped down very heavily. I've been dealing with environmental on some of my properties, and I can tell you they're very much more strict and follow through very wholeheartedly more in detail now than they did 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I look at the project as one way of helping get the site cleaned up. How that's going to be done yet, it has to be determined yet. And that's the way I'm looking at it. We're not at that point yet. We don't even have a site plan yet. So that's where I'm at. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Mr. Schlack. Anyone else?
I agree with Steve. I think we got to wait to see the plan, and I know the plan will include a remediation plan, and we'll follow it. And it'll protect the people that are stakeholders for that property.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Sleeper.
All right. Thanks again. Anybody else?
Dan Agnello, 964 Everett Parkway. Before I start that, I still would like to see, we get to this planning commission. When Overton gets to the planning commission, it's going to be, the railroad is going to go as fast as it can go and nobody's going to stop it. And I would like to see a remediation plan going to the planning commission as well as a site layout. And I'd like to see the council also, their feelings on 66 units. Would you support the fact that if the planning commission tells Habitat we'd like to go to 66 units on rentals, would you agree with that planning commission? If they made the recommendation to the council, would you agree with that? Because they said in the April 27th meeting that they could make money and they could get it supported by MISTA with 66 rental units. Now, of course, if they go to 118, they get more points for MISTA application. But their density goes way up, your green space goes down, your parking goes up, your traffic goes up, and people in the area are not going to be happy with 144 units. But I really came up here to discuss the pilot applications and the work the city is going to do. Now, on the October 12th meeting, you said you're going to have the pilot information and the revised purchase order information at the same meeting. Is that true, Kate?
Yes.
Okay.
And so are we getting ahead of ourselves? We have the pilot and the PO before we even have other things going on this program? Because it seems like we're getting the cart before the horse. We're going to have an agreement before we even have all of our tax abatements. And I think I sent you guys an email, but I haven't seen $1 sign in any of this project whatsoever, except the cost of the 3 phases, $40,000, $40,000, $20,000. I'm sure Habitat has a conceptual cost of what's going to cost for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, what they expect for tax abatements, okay, and what they expect for the service charge, what they expect to pay for sewer, water, gas, and electric hookups, everything like that, because we want to see what kind of breaks they're going to get versus what other contractors do not get, okay? We haven't seen any money on this whatsoever. Even in announcing it 2 years ago or whenever, there's no ballpark figures or anything. There are no numbers. I think we're just, pie in the sky. There are no numbers for anything. Unless I'm missing something in the thousands of pages of documents, there are no numbers. So I'd like to see Habitat give us some numbers. Give us the conceptuals. Here's our conceptual. Conceptual is 30%, okay? Give us our conceptuals. Here's what's going to cost to clean it up. Here's what's going to happen if we remediate all 3 of them at the same time. And we need to see the remediation plan at the PC meeting. If we don't have a remediation plan and a site plan, you might as well not have a PC meeting because it's going to be useless. The people in that area need to have a remediation plan. They deserve that. Just like all the people have said here today, they want that cleaned up. The whole area is contaminated. My property was contaminated with arsenic and lead, and they took, like I said, it took $30,000 worth of contaminated land to the Zealand Environmental Landfill, okay? And there was arsenic and lead in our area. There's other contaminants, and especially over in Overton, you can see the list that she handed out to you today. There are a lot of contaminants in there, much more than what was in phase 1 and then phase 2 and phase 3 of Overton. I'd like to thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. First, a question with regard to the millage, and prefer you not answer it during my limited time. I heard there was fine print that other departments could access the special millage that's on the ballot, so that would be nice to have that clarified after I speak. With regard to Overton, I would like to know, will the city be providing data to warrant the conceptual plan for Habitat, and Kilpatrick provide the parking comps before any agreement is entered? We've been asking for that information. It appears that the city's been looking at that since May, but we don't have any definitive answers. Let us know what you are planning. Will the city define the annual household income before any agreement is entered? Let us know what your target is. Will each city council person go on the record saying that they would support or at least not object to requesting Habitat to prepare a parallel plan for the site plan and an alternative plan for the Overton development going forward with just 60 rental units, the number Habitat said that they would be able to do at the June 21st, 2021 meeting, so that you are not usurping the Planning Commission's autonomy to make requirements of a site plan that may be in an agreement that I anticipate coming on October 18th. So will you go on the record saying that you would support or at least not object to lowering the number to 60 units if so deemed warranted, to avoid any misperception that the agreement that may have 144 units with 118 rentals has the tacit approval of the City Council before the Planning Commission has even looked at it? Will the city be pursuing the lot splits mentioned at the September 7th City Council meeting in the exhibit dated June 3rd that was never presented at the June 21st meeting? And regarding so that with that lot split raises a big concern with cleanup. So regarding diligence, I'm sorry, but the city has passed the buck. We raised concerns about Trailside, and the assistant city manager said the city contacted the developer, and the developer said they were complying with their due care plan, so everything was hunky-dory. Well, I didn't believe so, and I contacted Eagle when the city would not. And after after my first conversation with Eagle, they're like, oh, yeah, that does not sound compliant. And fencing was delivered the very next day. I've had to contact Eagle routinely, almost weekly at some points, at least monthly, because first fencing wasn't up, then it was broken, and then contaminated soils piled, it's not properly covered, and the developer does not promptly respond. So how can we guarantee, how can we believe you when you say you will be diligent when you pass the buck on Trailside? Regarding cleanup, as I already alluded to, there was a lot split. The lot split Overton into 3 parcels. Each parcel would be developed once funding was obtained. Once funding was obtained and construction started, that's when cleanup would happen. Well, phase cleanup can happen, but if you only get funding for phase 1, because they're going for LIHTC funding, low-income housing tax credit funding, which is very competitive, there's no guarantee that they'll get it. There's no guarantee they'll even get it for the phase 1, let alone phase 3. And we don't know what kind of funding they're going for phase 2 for the townhomes. So how can you say that you are going to ensure that this property is going to be cleaned up and not have phase 1, low-income housing, situated directly adjacent to contaminated land that's not cleaned up? Because cleanup is only going to occur concurrently with construction, which will only happen after funding is obtained. It doesn't make sense. The fairly lengthy and complex agreement on September 7th had holes a mile wide. Don't rush into an agreement when you do not know the unintended consequences, because this fairly lengthy and complex agreement has been rushed. Although I believe it has been looked at since at least early May, but we have only had one bite at the apple, and for a fairly lengthy and complex agreement that this city is so desperate to get housing that you are ignoring holes a mile wide is a dereliction of duty and a disservice to the citizens.
That's not right.
Any other comments? All right. Kate?
Well, Griffin stole a little bit of my thunder by talking about the public open house that will be held here tomorrow night in this room with Best Way Disposal from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Again, this is a public open house that will be open here with city staff as well as Best Way Disposal folks here. Anyone can come in, get their questions answered. Talking about bins, trash, recycling, yard waste, distribution of those said bins, anything to do with the transition. So again, open house here tomorrow night. I do want to also call out that there is the Fire Safety Fun Night this Thursday, October 7th, 5 to 8 p.m. At the Shays Station 3 over at Blue Star Highway with various fire-related activities for kids. Anyone attending should park at the Moose Lodge on East Wells. And similarly, I do want to thank the South Haven Area Emergency Services and city staff for the outstanding summer season on our beaches. We were recently, there was an article in the paper, and we had 0 rescues and 0 responses to the beaches, I believe, based on our NIXL notifications of the beach flags, based on the education efforts of the beach monitoring program with Shays, and just the outreach. And I got to thank Mr. Tom Renner for a lot of the photo captioning he does and trying to get the outreach on when are dangerous waves out there. So I just want to really highlight the fact that we really kind of turn things around. Of course, the work is never done, ever, but we had a really good year with just a very safe summer on the beaches. And I just want to highlight that and thank those folks.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right. Councilperson comments. I'll start on the right. Mr. Reeser.
I feel like coining an expression from one of the residents here when she said, I don't know where to begin, and tonight I am serious. All right, I'll start with, I do agree with any resident that is disappointed that Habitat hasn't been here. I think, and I've told Kate and I've told the mayor, I think Habitat should have been here 1, 2 of the last meetings, if not both. I share concerns about contamination, but I think Steve made a great point, and I have faith, not blind faith, that the state and the municipalities, local municipalities, and everyone else involved in contamination will, in fact, do their due diligence, and we'll know before a brick is laid or a hole is dug what the situation is. I can't speak for anyone else up here, but I'm sure we all feel the same way. We don't want anyone to be subjected to contamination. I guess for me, what bothers me the most about this whole development is I feel at times we as a community, on one hand, we talk about parking, density, and contamination. That's fair game, fair questions. But at times, I think we have crossed the line with personal statements against people up here. And what bothers me is to have one of our residents, Pastor Wilkins, stand up here. And he had called me after he received that letter. And we don't need, as a community, to do that to each other. We don't need to be personal with our statements about this project. This is for the community, for the well-being of the community. I don't think there's a person in here that's against some of the things going on in Habitat that aren't genuine, that all of you aren't concerned that have spoken tonight, that it's not sincere. The flip side, the people up here that want it, the people in the community that want it, are equally sincere. So please, if we could bring down the rhetoric a little and be a little kinder to each other, I think that would help us get through this, and I think we will get through it. Thanks.
Thank you. George?
I guess I wanted just to touch real briefly on some of the comments made about Overton. I am not basically against any kind of size development on Overton. In fact, I think if I had to go back and do things all over again, I don't think we should have had any kind of preliminary information about what we were going to do at that site, because I think it's just come back to haunt us, because people are thinking that the city council is set on this particular design when we don't really have a design yet. We're not at that point yet. And so if it goes through planning commission and there's 50 units, I mean, I'll support that. If there's some other number, I'll support that, provided it meets all the requirements of the zoning ordinance and the plan unit development ordinance. But yeah, I really am thinking that we need to let the process take its course and not try to assume that something is going to happen when we don't really know what is going to happen yet. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Chris?
With the 60-plus versus 100 and some units, if the cost increases the rent for people because they bring down the amount of units, then I would object to that, because the whole idea is to bring the cost down for people to live in this town. We do need these places, and we need them really bad. It's easy for us to see it from our point of view, but I have apartments, and they rent very fast. And my prices are low, and that's why, but a lot of people can't afford apartments in this town. Not as in at the server wage, not at the retail wage. So we have to bring in prices that people can afford here. So that's kind of all I have.
Well said. Jeff?
Yep. And my comments would be tied to Overton as well, and just kind of echoing everything that my fellow people have said, that obviously we're very concerned about the remediation out there. We need to see the plan. And, when we get that, we'll go through it. We'll make sure that it's good. I asked Kate and Griffin when they're here, can we look at not doing it phased? Can we do it all at once? What would that look like? But when Habitat comes up with a plan, when there's a plan, can we do it all at once, or do we need to do it in phases? And if we can do it in phases, will it be safe? And if it will be safe, then I could support it. As for the number of units, same thing. We don't have a plan yet. If whatever Habitat comes to us with, well, then that'll be the time to decide. And I will listen to your voices, your comments, your emails, your calls before casting that vote. But, we just haven't seen anything yet, so we're still learning. We're still getting this going. And so those are my comments.
Very good. Thank you. Steve?
I probably shouldn't, but I will. to address Mr. Wilkins regarding very disappointed at the last meeting why we just let that go. I do want to say that at the last meeting, I shared with the city manager, or prior to the last meeting, I'm losing track, but I did share with the city manager some of my concerns regarding the contract with Overton. And I didn't feel that in certain areas the city was protected enough. So I shared those concerns, and for whatever reasons, it got delayed and they didn't apply for the application or the October deadline. I've had conversations with different council persons regarding it. I want this project. I want the property cleaned up. But I am doing my due diligence, and I do not appreciate getting accused of dereliction of duty. That to me just blew me away. So I am working very hard on it. I am doing my homework. I am studying and reading the packets and everything I know. So I was elected in this position to make decisions for the city and the members of this city, and I'm doing the best I can. I do my homework. I study. I read through the 300 or 400 page documents before the meeting. I question. I call the city manager when I have questions. I get those questions answered. So with that, I'll say I wish you all a very nice evening.
Thank you, Steve.
No comment.
All right, very good. I guess my quick comment on Overton, and we'll put it to rest. All the comments well stated. I feel like we've been drilling on contamination for a long time. It is of utmost concern, and we will ensure the process is done correctly. And I will make sure, I will work with the city staff to make sure that we have Eagle dialed in on this one. We'll make sure they're present, and we have a process, and we're accountable for what's going on there. So we will make sure that happens. We hear the concerns. On to more other things that's going on in the town. We had homecoming last week. Nice to see everybody back in the stadium. People were out. Kids were out. I didn't have any kids there, but it was nice. But nice to see. Downtown, FYI, it's fall. Locals, get back out. Time to go back out. Restaurants are open. Shops are open. They need your support, right?
Oh, yeah.
Go shop.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
shop. Go back out, right? There are a couple restaurants downtown. You haven't been there lately. I got to go to, I went to our high school homecoming, and then I went to Elma's homecoming, where I grew up. Ran into Larry and Bev Brown there, of all people. That was a Elma Scott grad, so I'm just, don't know if I'm going to share that. But it's amazing if you go to other towns, go to little inland towns in Michigan, and then you come back here, and wow, we have a pretty amazing downtown. The investments in our buildings, in our roads, in our infrastructure, people should look around and be pretty proud of the city that we're in, because it's not like that every place. So we live in a pretty amazing place. So again, continue to support your merchants downtown. It's a pretty amazing place down there. Look forward to seeing some changes maybe at the Hales property. Keep your eyes open for that. And other than that, go get your flu shot, go get your COVID shot, and let's put this COVID crap behind us. So on that note, I'll seek a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
No second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for coming.